Hello and welcome to the EPL Digest, your daily Premier League news in bite-sized chunks. And on today's topic is Newcastle United. Now, Newcastle, as we know, have got new found owners, which hopefully are going to turn Newcastle into a Premier League giant once again. And, you know, Newcastle fans have waited for this takeover for absolute, years. I've been a Liverpool fan. I've sat there and I've watched, obviously, Mike Ashley grow more and more frustrating for the Newcastle faithful. And, it's great to see them finally get their rewards. Now, obviously, for me, it might not be great over the next decade, but I'm sure, Newcastle fans are excited. And in today's video, I want to talk about 10 potential signings. Now, obviously, I don't mean Newcastle are going to go and sign all 10 of these, but 10 players that I think that could improve Newcastle, obviously going into 2022, and hopefully keep them up. And if you do enjoy today's video, especially if you're a Newcastle fan, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to have loads of topics on loads of Premier League debates over the next few weeks. If you want to see a topic about your team, leave them in the comments down below and I'll get them done for you. But yeah, today is Newcastle. Let's get into it. So yeah, first video on the channel, I've chose Newcastle as a debate, and it's a great debate. There's a lot of people tipping Newcastle to become the next big thing in Premier League football, and who could begrudge them, you know what I mean? As I say, as a Liverpool fan, it's not great news for me. It's just how they go about their business. And I feel that Newcastle won't be able to sign the calibre of players that some may think. I don't think they're going to be able to go out and sign, your world-class fitting players like your Mbappes and your Haalands, because they don't want to join a project that's going to take a decade for them to obviously, put their foot down in the Premier League. And there's a level of player and there's a level of expectancy. And apart from Chelsea, I'd even say Man City kind of took these early steps. Signing the likes of your Stephen Islands and your Sean Wright Phillips, players who weren't top calibre, let's just put it that way, but have certainly improved the team. And then once they got into European football, they started to be able to entice bigger names. And as I say, Chelsea seemed to hit the floor running. I don't know if they got kind of lucky, but they got the likes of Damien Duff, Robin, people like that, Carvalho, Mourinho brought in all the Portuguese players, so he had that. And yeah, I just feel like there's a very small percentage of players that are going to take a risk on joining Newcastle, especially when, it looks like you may be going down. I don't want to tempt fate for you, but, the possibility of you going down is extremely high. And I understand that money is no object, and I do understand that your owners are obviously going to splash the cash. Anyway, let's take a look at the players that I've picked for my list that I feel would join you, whether it be on loan or as a transfer, and they'll hopefully keep Newcastle United in the Premier League. Right, number one, we'll just get it out there, is Kieran Trippier. It looks like he's dead set to sign for Newcastle. And, it is a perfect balance between a really good player, a lot better than obviously what you've got in the right back position at the moment, because, you've obviously got Manquillo, Jacob Murphy, and to be honest, let's be brutally honest, they haven't set the world alight, either of them, when they've played. And if Newcastle want to compete and obviously entice bigger players, Kieran Trippier is a great starting point. I know he's 31, but he's got great pedigree. He's played for Atletico Madrid in the Champions League this season. He had a great pedigree when he played for obviously Spurs, and a lot of people didn't understand why Spurs got rid of him, but to your benefit, if and when Newcastle sign Kieran Trippier, it's kind of a benchmark signing as well, because we all know he's still got a few years left in him. He's going to take the risk, obviously, joining a team that are on the verge of getting relegated if they don't turn their fortunes around, and it would be a big scalp for Newcastle United at this stage of obviously their progression. So it looks like he's going to be joining from somewhere between 15 and 25 million. I'm sure you Newcastle fans will know a lot more about me. But yeah, number one, Kieran Trippier, absolutely brilliant signing if you get it over the line. And it also makes some of the players in my list sound a little bit more realistic, in the sense of, if you can sign a Kieran Trippier, then you can sign these. Anyway, number two I've got on my list is actually a loan that I think you'll benefit from. In fact, I'll go for the next, so 2 and 3, I'm going to do in one because of the same position, and it's also a loan position. And I think you could entice Man City to give you Nathan Ake for a few months, because he's not getting regular game time there at Man City. Their squad is, heavily saturated in all positions. They wouldn't miss him. Now, I know he's not on the books for use in the sense of no one's mentioned him. This is my list anyway, in the sense of they're not rumours. They're just people I think that will, obviously improve Newcastle United. And I think Nathan Ake would do a great job for you. He's a great Premier League proven centre-back. He's fast, he's direct. Without sounding too horrible, I've watched Newcastle a few years, obviously, especially against Liverpool. And although he's done well to a certain extent, I'm not blown away by obviously your centre backs. Lascelles can be good in certain situations, but there's times when I've watched him and I've thought, ooh. And then obviously at the moment his pairing is Clark. I think Nathan Ake replaces Clark. And the other centre-back, I would actually I actually think it'd be a great move for both parties if you were to make a loan offer for Joe Gomez. He wants to play in the World Cup in the summer. He wants minutes. Unfortunately for him, Matip has gone on this strange vein of form. He's not had any injuries. We've brought Kanate in. We've got Nat Phillips as well, which isn't a bad shout, but he's not in my list, Nat Phillips. But I just think Joe Gomez needs the game time. Liverpool could afford to let him go out on loan, maybe on a recall basis, if obviously Liverpool do get depleted to the point where we last season. And yeah, I just think either Ake or Gomez would be a great signing for you. They could both use the game time, and they're both a lot better than obviously what Newcastle have got at the moment. But yeah, that's my number 1, 2 and 3 so far. Let's move on to the 4th. Now I have got one more centre back on this list. Obviously if the other two are a bit too far fetched, or the clubs obviously don't want to let them go, and this is also to buy because I think he's affordable. He's proven Premier League defender, and he's a lot better than what you've got at the moment, and that is Tarkowski from Burnley. I just think you could definitely persuade Burnley to sell, whether it be 30 million plus maybe, because obviously it's Newcastle and they know they've got money. But he's a great defender. He's shown over the years at a team with obviously not a lot of investment that he's more than capable to lead the line as a captain and keep Burnley in the Premier League, and he's done it for a few seasons now. And I just think not only would it be affordable, I know that sounds stupid because obviously Newcastle have got vast amounts of money, it's not going to cost them over 80 million. It's going to be a reasonable price, and he'll get the job done. I really do think that Tarkowski needs a move as well. I think he'd be interested in the move. And the way they look at it is he's not really setting the world alight at Burnley in the sense of, challenging. So if he was to take the option of potentially going down, but obviously had a new ambitious project, he could buy into that. If you did go down, I'm sure you'll bounce straight back up, and he could buy into that philosophy because he's not going to progress any higher than Burnley in the Premier League, I don't think. But I do think over the next 2 or 3 seasons, Newcastle are obviously going to blow them away. So I do think Tarkowski, out of the 3 centre-backs mentioned, could potentially be the more realistic target. Now moving on to number 5 on my list, I've actually gone for Brighton's midfielder maestro Basuma. Now he's been linked with everyone: Arsenal, Liverpool, other Premier League outfits. He's been obviously linked with moves abroad, but none of them have materialised. And I just feel like it's because the likes of Liverpool and obviously the likes of Arsenal, when they've looked into it, it might not be might make much sense. He won't improve what they've already got. Although I do think he'd improve Arsenal. They obviously chose not to make a bid for him. They chose other avenues in Odegaard and obviously Partey. And I think he's desperate for a move from Brighton. Now, I understand Brighton are doing okay in the Premier League at the moment. Well, they've started to tail off a little tiny bit now. And I think come the end of the season, it's going to be another situation where, Brighton have punched above the weight and they finish mid-table. So Basuma is desperate for a move, as I mentioned before. He wants obviously a project. He wanted to join Arsenal. He wanted to join Liverpool. So it just goes to show he's desperate for that move. Now, Newcastle could throw 50 million at Basuma. Whether he's worth 50 million, I don't know. Would Brighton sell? Absolutely. And would a Newcastle project of obviously the potential of going down, I understand, but obviously the overall project, the money that you'd get for obviously signing for you, I'm sure he'd get a 5-year contract on 150 grand a week. But obviously if you can get through this season and stay up, next season be so bright, and you'd expect Newcastle to go and finish top of the top half of the table and finish above the likes of Brighton. So for me, Basuma gives you that professionalism in midfield. He's settled on the ball, he's fast, he's energetic, he's got an engine, can tackle, can score great goals, and I'm not saying that you haven't got players that can do that. We've seen Joe Linton in recent weeks, especially against Liverpool. Joe Linton, I thought, done really well against us. Every time, we got the ball in midfield, he didn't really lose it. But I just feel you need more depth there. Shelvey, great goal scorer, but let's be honest, he never made it at Liverpool for the simple reason, he's very much like a 1 in 3 type of player, maybe even a 1 in 5 where he shows up. And Basuma, has shown the years he has been in the Premier League that he can give, a sustained, top level performance week in, week out. So he's going to do that obviously at Brighton. Gary Potter demands a good work ethic, but I do think Basuma's interested in a move away at some point over the next year, and want no better in January to move and double his wages, if not more. And, Brighton get a nice little compensation package out of it. So, for me, Basuma will be a great signing for Newcastle, and he would be the difference between staying up and going down, in my opinion. And yeah, so we're moving on to number 6. And I think this particular one I had in mind before you got Eddie Howe. I was a big advocate that Newcastle could go to Ajax and get Ten Hag out of there. That Dutch connection, and this is how I kind of came up with this player, and that is Donny van de Beek from Man United. It is obvious that guy is talented. He's shown it in the Champions League with Ajax. He pulled teams to pieces, obviously with his Ajax teammates when he was there, and it's for some reason he's just not hit the ground running for him at Man United. And you can see from his body language, he solely felt it was down to Solskjaer. He solely thought that I'm doing enough in training when I do get game time to show that I should be starting. And a lot of the Man United fans will totally agree with you, but I think if Newcastle United went to United, again, maybe 50 million, 40, 50 million went, we'll take him off your hands. We'll obviously, we can meet his wage demands. I think you've got an amazing player on your hands there. He's such a tricky customer in and around the box, given enough game time, and I just feel that he would be up for the move. He obviously, financially it makes sense for him. He's not playing at the moment, and if you're getting the likes of Kieran Trippier and he's going to see that project getting built, I'm sure he'll take a chance. I'm sure he'll see other players that I've mentioned, similar to what I've mentioned, getting linked and potentially getting, over the line for you in January. And if not buy, definitely loan. But I would obviously, if you did loan him, try and secure his services in the summer. I just think he would offer that attacking threat that maybe Almiron, Fraser, players of that kind of haven't delivered on all season, and give the likes of Callum Wilson a bit of support, because he is more of a number 10, but he does, he can play a number 8, so he's also got that ability to play in different positions for you. So yeah, Donny van de Beek makes my number 6. So number 7, I'll be honest, I've probably made this video a little tiny bit too late, because he actually had a good performance against Liverpool last week, and that is Dele Alli. Now, before that game against us, I still personally don't think he done that great, but obviously, what do I know? A lot of people say he put a good shift in. I'm still debating why he dived to try and get a penalty. I am trying to work out why his ball was so poor to Harry Kane when they could have put us, dead and buried. Would have been 3-1 at the time. And I kind of just think that there's still something about him that's not quite right. And in all fairness, I do think he needs a move, but it's if Newcastle want to take that risk. He'd obviously cost maybe the best part of 30 to 40, maybe 50 million. Once upon a time, Dele Alli was a player that I was absolutely gutted that Liverpool didn't prize away from MK Dons, and I just feel like, a move could be the best thing for him. Now, the beauty of this particular transfer, it's going to be a positive and a negative. He definitely improves a Newcastle team. Does he give that work ethic? Now, that is the key. Would he be better off, obviously with the move? Would he find new lease of life? It's a big risk, but if you get the best out of him, he'd be an awesome player. And this is going to sound really contradictory, but if Newcastle did go down still, I do think Dele Alli is kind of like in that position where he could either be, a Premier League player or a Championship player. I know that sounds crazy, but I do feel like if he went down, he'd set the world alight at the Championship level and maybe come back, obviously, in a better frame of mind. But we don't want that for Newcastle fans. We want them to stay up. And I do think maybe a loan probably is the best option. He definitely needs game time. And if he came to Newcastle, kept them up, had an amazing, obviously, back end of the season, you know, he's in a shout for the England team again, so it could be the best opportunity for him to make a World Cup squad, or at least get in and around the team yet again. And yeah, my whole opinion of him, everything is Tottenham's gone stagnant. He may have a new manager bounce effect where he may look good in games, but I think eventually he's going to realise he's still at Tottenham, he's still not happy, he still wants out, because he clearly still wants out. He would have went to PSG on loan if it wasn't for obviously Mourinho, and you know, I think it'd be a good suit for Newcastle. I'm sure you'll agree. But yeah, Dele Alli makes my number 7. Number 8 is another attacking midfielder option that could potentially play deeper as well, to give you obviously that flexibility, and that is Ross Barkley. I wouldn't suggest a buy here. I do feel he has a particular set of skills that would benefit you from a loan. I do feel if you were to go and plunge, say 30-40 million to him and give him a bucket load of cash, I do feel after a few months he would go stale. He seems to be that journeyman. Once he left Everton for Chelsea, he was all about the money. He doesn't really play with obviously, you know, the fact that, you know, he's happy just to sit there on the bench for Chelsea. But if you were to get him on loan, I do feel he'd do a job for you. I do feel like he done for Aston Villa, but Aston Villa chose not to buy him, or you know, for some reason they didn't see Ross Barkley as a permanent feature for them. And I just think he could obviously give you a bit of an effect in the midfield. I think he could offer something that you're not getting in the sense of creatability from obviously he runs deep, he gets up, he runs past the strikers, he can cause that bit of mischief in and around the box. And yet I think Ross Barkley will make a good loan signing for you, especially, you know, then there's no big wages if you did ultimately get relegated, so obviously have to keep on paying him or loan him out and have that headache. So loan for Ross Barkley is my number 8. Now number 9 on my list is an out and out number 10 who is definitely not getting used to his potential at the moment, and that is Jesse Lingard at Man United. We've seen him go to West Ham last season and look unbelievable. He was back in and around the England squad. He looked in, you know, fantastic form. But his loyalty to Man United kind of has cost him the season. He wanted to show everyone at Man United that he's still good enough to obviously play for them. And unfortunately, you know, the signing of Ronaldo, the fitness of Rashford coming back, it's been to his detriment. And I think he needs to move. And I think he'd be honest enough to admit that as well. And, you know, West Ham, maybe it could be a potential move for him if they fancy it again. But, you know, if not, why can't Newcastle throw a bid in there, whether it's a loan or a buy, you know, or a loan to buy, so to speak, you know, offer, say, you know, if he has a good, you know, loan period, we'll give you 40 million. I'm sure Man United would snap your hands off for Jesse Lingard because he's getting no younger. He's been on the books for obviously numerous years. He's not shown United enough for him to be a regular, but clearly there's a player there, and for him to relieve his career again, another one similar to the likes of Gomez and Dele Alli, he'll want to be in and around that England team, so he definitely needs to move in January. Do you, the Newcastle fans, see Jesse Lingard as an option? I certainly think he improves your team. Obviously let me know down in the comments below, but yeah, I think out of the midfielders that I mentioned, out of your Dele Allis, your Ross Barkleys and your Lingards, I'd probably say Lingard is the best bet. I think he'd give you more bang for your buck. I think he'd obviously score more goals and create more. So yeah, so let me know down in the comments what you think. Now number 10, I've gone for a goalkeeper. You know, I understand you've got Dubravka coming back. I understand that you like him. There's something about him that doesn't fill me with confidence all the time. And I don't know about you Newcastle fans, but obviously when I watch Newcastle, I don't look at him and think, oh, he's a standout performer week in, week out. I think he has his moments, and this one may not tickle your fancy too much, but I think you could 100% prize Dean Henderson out of Man United. Definitely for a loan, but I 100% think you could definitely persuade them to sell for, say, 50 million again. You know, that seems to be, I think a lot of these players, I think that's the target for Newcastle. I don't think they need to spend any more than that, but I think they need to pay above the, you know, above asking price for some players. And, you know, I think 50 million would persuade a lot of clubs to just go, yeah, go, let's do it. And I think Dean Henderson would be a great signing for you. And, you know, before he got injured, he'd replaced David De Gea, because obviously he was in an awful run of form, but obviously because Dean Henderson's been injured, David De Gea's come back in, and, you know, according to Man United, he's been amazing again. I still don't think he is. I still think he's a bit suspect in certain situations this season, but United seem to love him again. He's on a vast amount of money. It'd be stupid not to play him. And I think Dean Henderson now wants out. I can't see why he'd want to stay there. He knows he's not the number one, and reignite his career, because obviously, again, he's another player who's going to be wanting to be in that England World Cup squad come 2022. And, you know, he's not going to get in there. Well, he's definitely not going to be the number one, let's put it that way, if he's not getting game time. And, you know, a lot of people were tipping Dean Henderson to replace Pickford last season. And let's face it, he's miles off the pecking order now. So for him to relight his career, he needs to move. And you know what better? A bit more money and obviously a project at Newcastle, which will obviously, you know, improve over the next 5 years. And it's definitely, I'm sure it's a project that he potentially would buy into. Anyway, if you've noticed with the list, I haven't mentioned a striker. And I'll be honest, that's because I think you kind of score enough goals. If you can keep Callum Wilson fit, you'll score goals, let's face it. And St. Maximum is unbelievable. I would love Liverpool to sign him. No, you won't like me saying that, but I just think between those two, and obviously, you know, Almiron and, you know, Joe Linton can push up a little bit further, because even though he's been playing a little bit deeper than I've noticed in recent weeks, and, you know, I think with those players, you can score enough goals. My only issue is you can't keep them out. And I think if you reassure your back four, get a few more players in midfield to kind of solidify that, it'll give those attacking players the ability to stay up a little bit higher, because obviously you see a lot of your attacking options dropping back to help and defend, which is, you know, that's going to happen, especially when you're playing against top teams in the Premier League. But obviously reassuring your defence in midfield, I do think with St. Maximum and obviously Callum Wilson, you've got two great goal scorers there, two players that can cause havoc on a day. And yeah, it's just about it all clicking for you. Anyway, if there's anyone that you think that I should have added to this list, or as a non-Newcastle fan have not suggested players in positions that you particularly think are, you're vulnerable in, let me know in the comments down below. I'll obviously try and interact with everybody over this. But yeah, this is my first video on the channel. As I say, EPL Digest, your daily Premier League news in bite-sized chunks. If you want to see your team featured on any particular topic in the Premier League, leave them down in the comments down below. Newcastle fans, if you want me to talk about anything else going on in and around your club, let me know in the comments down below. I will have obviously screen overlays with all the socials going into the new year, so you'll be able to obviously see that, be a bit more professional over here. But until the meantime, it is EPL Digest on Twitter and Instagram, and I believe TikTok is up and running now as well, so please go and check out those socials. The links will be down below. But until next time, take care.